There's a specific way seedlings die that almost nobody warns you about. One evening they're green and upright and perfect. By morning, half of them are lying flat, stems pinched thin and dark right at the soil line, like someone crimped them with tweezers. Nothing ate them. You didn't forget to water. That, it turns out, is the problem. Most people blame the seeds. Old packet, bad batch, cheap brand. Occasionally that's true. Mostly it isn't. The uncomfortable answer is that seedlings almost never die at random. They die from a short list of very specific, very repeatable mistakes. And every one of them leaves evidence. Here's the part that took me years to understand. With a mature plant, you diagnose problems by reading the leaves. With a seedling, the leaves are the last place to look. The real story is at the base, the stem, the soil line, the first inch of root. Learn to read that, and a dead seedling stops being a mystery and starts being a confession. There are 5 causes that account for almost all of it. And the first one is the one you'd least expect, because it usually comes from doing something you think is helping. Cause 1, you're drowning them. Start with water, because it kills the most. And it kills with kindness. New gardeners tend to water seedlings the way they'd water a houseplant. A little, often, keeping the surface dark and damp, because damp looks healthy. For a seedling, damp all the time is a death sentence. Here's the mechanism people miss. Roots don't only drink water, they breathe. They need oxygen in the spaces between soil particles. When the mix stays saturated, those air pockets fill with water, and the roots effectively suffocate. But the bigger problem is what moves in. A permanently wet, warm, still surface is the ideal habitat for a group of fungi we lump together as damping off. Remember that pinched, dark stem from the start of the video? That's their signature. The fungus attacks right at the soil line, collapses the stem's plumbing, and the seedling topples, not because it ran out of water, but because it was drowning in it. The fix isn't a product, it's a rhythm. Water from the bottom, let the tray wick moisture up through the drainage holes. And then, the part everyone skips, let the top half-inch of soil dry out completely before you water again. Dry surface, moist below. That single change stops most damping off before it starts, because you've taken away the one thing the fungus can't live without. But you can get the water perfect and still end up with seedlings that fail, in a completely different way. Instead of collapsing, they stretch. Cause 2. Your light is lying to you. A leggy seedling is one that's grown tall and thin and floppy. A long bare stem, a little tuft of leaves way up top, leaning hard toward the window. People see the height and think it's thriving. It's not. It's begging. That stretch has a name. Etiolation. And it's a survival reflex. In dim light, a seedling behaves as though it's buried under a leaf or a clod of soil, so it pours everything into growing upward, fast, to reach the sun before it starves. It sacrifices stem thickness and root development to do it. The result is a plant that's all ladder and no foundation. Here's what beginners consistently underestimate. A bright windowsill is nowhere near as much light as it feels to your eyes. Your eyes adjust. They lie to you about brightness. A cloudy March windowsill across most of the US, UK, or Canada can be a fraction, sometimes a tenth, of what that seedling actually wants. And because the light comes from one side, the plant bends toward it and stretches even more. If you're using a grow light, 2 things matter most: distance and hours. And distance is the one people get wrong. For most LED seedling lights, you want them shockingly close, around 2 to 3 inches above the tops, running 14 to 16 hours a day. Too far away, and you've just recreated the weak windowsill you were trying to escape. Transition. So, water right, light close. Your seedlings are compact and green, and they can still snap in half the day you move them. Because there's a third thing they've been missing the whole time, and you can't see it. Cause 3. The air never moves. Outdoors, seedlings live in constant, gentle motion. Breezes, gusts, the nudging of neighboring plants. Indoors, the air is dead still, and it turns out plants use that motion as information. There's a jaw-cracking word for it. Thigmomorphogenesis. But the idea is simple. When a stem gets flexed by moving air, the plant reads that as, The world is rough out here, and responds by growing shorter and thicker, laying down stronger tissue to brace itself. No wind, no signal. Under perfect light, the plant still grows soft and tall. The fix is almost comically cheap, a small fan on its lowest speed, aimed so the seedlings just barely tremble, not thrash, for a few hours a day. Two things happen at once. The stems thicken and toughen, so they survive being handled and transplanted. And the moving air keeps that soil surface drying and disrupts the still, humid microclimate the damping off fungus depends on. If you asked me to name the single best $15 upgrade for a home seed starting setup, it wouldn't be a fancy light or a heated anything. It'd be a cheap clip-on fan. It quietly solves 2 of the 5 problems on this list at the same time. Every cause so far has been about the environment you grow in: water, light, air. The next one is different. It's about a single moment. One transition that kills more healthy-looking seedlings than any disease. Cause 4. You skipped the transition. Picture the best-looking tray of tomato seedlings you've ever grown. Stocky, deep green, 4 true leaves each, roots filling the cell. You've done everything right. So on the first warm, sunny Saturday, you carry them outside and plant them in the garden. 3 days later, they look bleached, papery, and half of them are dead. That's not bad luck. It's the most heartbreaking killer on this list because it strikes the healthiest plants, and it's entirely self-inflicted. Here's what's happening. A seedling raised indoors has never met the real sun. Under glass and LEDs, there's almost no ultraviolet light. The air barely moves, and the temperature is mild and stable. So the plant never built its defenses. Its outer leaf layer, the waxy cuticle that blocks UV and holds in water, is thin and soft. Move it outside in one step, and the real sun burns the tissue faster than the plant can protect itself. That's sun scald, literally a sunburn. Add dry wind pulling moisture out through that thin cuticle, plus cold nights it's never experienced, and you've shocked it from every direction at once. The solution is a gradual introduction we call hardening off. Over about 7 to 10 days, you set the seedlings outside a little longer each day, starting with an hour in shade, working up to full sun, and eventually a full night out, so the plant has time to thicken its cuticle, toughen its stems, and adjust. I've lost a whole tray to skipping this exactly once. A perfect run of peppers, 4 hours of unfiltered June sun on day 1, and by evening, they look like they'd been through a fire. You only make that mistake once, and rushing is the most common way it goes wrong. A warm week tempts you to compress 10 days into 3, and the plants pay for it. Every cause so far assumes the seedling got a fair start. This last one poisons the well before the seed even sprouts. Cause 5. You started in the wrong dirt. It's tempting to fill your trays with dirt from the garden. It's free, it's right there, and plants grow in it outside. So why buy a bag of special mix? Because the physics of a seed tray are nothing like the physics of a garden bed. Garden soil is relatively heavy and dense. Out in open ground, that's fine. Worms, roots, and weather keep it structured and full of air channels. Pack that same soil into a 1-inch cell, water it a few times, and it slumps into a dense, airless brick. You're right back to the first problem on this list: no oxygen at the roots. It also drains badly, so it stays wet, which invites damping off. And here's the part that really matters. Garden soil isn't sterile, it's alive. And some of what's living in it are the exact organisms that kill seedlings. You'd be planting your most vulnerable plants directly into their predator's habitat. A proper seed starting mix isn't really soil at all. It's usually something fluffy that holds moisture, cocoa coir or peat, blended with something gritty that holds air and lets water pass, like perlite. Light, free draining, and clean to start with. One more non-negotiable. Whatever you plant in must have holes in the bottom. No drainage means water has nowhere to go, and every problem we've covered gets worse. Get the medium and the drainage right, and you've quietly removed the foundation 3 of the other 4 killers were standing on. The one everyone tells you to buy. Now, notice what it hasn't been on this list: heat. Walk into any seed starting conversation online, and someone will tell you the first thing you need is a heat mat. For a specific set of seeds, they're right. But for most people, most of the time, I think heat mats are quietly oversold. Here's the reality. A heat mat does one job. It warms the soil to speed up germination for heat-loving crops like peppers, tomatoes, eggplant, and basil, which sprout faster and more evenly with soil around 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. That's true. If you're starting a lot of peppers in a cold basement, a mat earns its place. But two things get lost. First, the mat is only for germination. The moment the seeds sprout, most people leave it running. And warm, constantly moist soil is, once again, exactly what damping off fungus wants. The mat that helped them germinate starts helping them die. Second, plenty of common crops, lettuce, brassicas, most flowers, anything you'd sow into cool spring soil, don't want the extra heat at all. So the verdict. A heat mat is a useful tool for germinating warm season seeds in a cold house, and close to useless, even counterproductive, if you leave it on or use it for the wrong crops. It is not the foundation of seed starting. Your $15 fan will save more plants than your heated mat ever will. Let's put it back together, because once you see the pattern, seed starting gets a lot less mysterious. Almost every seedling that dies is telling you which of these 5 it was, if you read the base instead of the leaves. Toppled with a pinched dark stem at the soil line. Damping off, soil too wet, air too still. Tall, pale, floppy, leaning. Light, too little, too far, or too brief. Snapped or limp despite good color. Weak stems from dead still air. Bleached and papery a few days after going outside. You skipped the hardening off. Struggling from the very first day in a dense, soggy tray? Start with what you planted it in. Prevention comes down to a rhythm you can hold in your head. Start in a light, sterile mix, in a container with drainage holes. That's the foundation. Then 4 habits. Keep the surface on the dry side, bottom water, and let the top dry between drinks. Keep the air moving, a cheap fan on low, a few hours a day. Keep the light close, 2 to 3 inches for LEDs, 14 to 16 hours, and give them a slow exit, 7 to 10 days of hardening off before they ever meet the open sky.